Shalom uvracha to everyone on this Erev Shabbat, Parshat Vayeirah. I hope everyone is well. I think everyone has been consumed this week with the election and everything that's going on and the nail-biting nature of it and watching the returns and seeing the numbers go up and down. And of course, it's something that we are, very, very engaged in and want to see what happens and see a result, a definite result. And what's interesting, of course, is that there's another election going on, and that's the election of Abraham. That's the terminology that's used in these parshiot. Abraham and Sarah, Abraham and Sarah, being chosen as the beginning, as the founders of our people. And we have the number of narratives in Parshat Vayeirah and Parshat Lech Lecha and Parshat Vayeirah and Chayei Sarah that all play out in terms of the destiny of the Jewish people. And this week's Parsha especially is framed around a very powerful theme. At the end of last week's Parasha, if you remember, Abraham was told that he would have a child. And in this week's Parsha, both Abraham and Sarah are directly told that they will have a child. And the language is very beautiful. And Sarah overhears, Vayomer shov ashuv elecha ka'et chaya v'hinei bein l'sara ishtecha. Indeed, you will have a child, and there will be a child. I will return, and at that moment, you will have a child. Shov ashuv elecha ka'et chaya v'hinei bein l'sara ishtecha. And it's repeated again. Hayipalei me'Adonai Dvar lamoed ashuv elecha ka'et chaya u'lisara vein. And Sarah will have a child, a miraculous fact. Towards the end of the parasha, that is fulfilled. Towards the end of the parasha, Vashem pakad et Sarah kasher amar, etc. And we have the birth of Yitzchak. Shov ashuv elecha ka'et chaya, in fact, comes to be. And of course, the Akedat Yitzchak, the binding of Isaac, the story that Isaac is almost taken, but he is ultimately brought back to life, so to speak, from the edge of death. And he lives, and Abraham affirms Isaac as his destiny, as his son who's going to continue. And what's interesting is the Parsha ends with the birth of life as well. After the Akedah, Vahi acharei advarim haele vayugad laAvram lemor hinei yalda milka gam hi banim lemnachor achicha et utz bechoro v'chulei v'chulei ubetuel yaladet Rivka, etc., etc. And the birth of Rivka, the birth of the intended, of the other side of the family, on the other side of the world in Mesopotamia, that they also had children. And it sets us up for the connection between the one side of Abraham's family and the other side, which will occur in Parshat Chayei Sarah. So the Parsha is framed by a declaration of life at the beginning, about news about life at the beginning, news about life at the end, and in the middle we have the life that is actually formed and the life that emerges and is saved at the last minute. That same kind of tension is in the middle of the Parsha as well, where we have, unfortunately, the challenge, the destruction of Sodom. We have the death, we have destruction, we have the eradication of Sodom and the other cities, the wicked cities, and the salvation of Sodom, the salvation of Lot, that small remnant on behalf of Abraham, that small remnant that is saved together with his family. And what's, of course, so sad is that some of his family did not want to come. His son-in-laws saw him as someone being an alarmist, someone who was saying things, the angels were saying things that weren't going to come true, and therefore they decided to stay there. And in fact, the text used a very interesting term, Vayhi kimitzachek beinehem, when the angels told the son-in-laws of Lot, and when Lot told them that it's time to leave, they were mitzachek beinehem. They laughed at him. They said, "Oh, it's a hoax. It's not true." And they remained and died. And of course, Lot's wife, who was not able to tear herself away from Sodom, seeing danger and destruction, and yet she decided to turn back and look back and want to stay in Sodom. I think about this very much because, again, as much as we've been focused on the election this week, I mean, this week was a terrible week for the United States in terms of the pandemic. We broke records again in terms of positivity. There's a lot of people who have been, showing fatigue in terms of their practice of safety protocols, people getting together in all parts of the country. And there's a tremendous amount of continuing challenge to people's health and safety and death. And we continue to have too many, every death is terrible. We continue to have too many deaths that are preventable because people are simply not, doing what they could themselves to be able to prevent this in terms of social distancing, in terms of masks, in terms of everything. And there's a certain sadness here. It's very much there's people who was kimitzachek beinayim, all the guidelines and all the ramifications and urging and encouraging are being ignored by many people. And we have on the one hand tremendous life that's continuing in the face of the pandemic, and people are living and should continue to live. And we don't need a massive lockdown again. We need people to recognize that within life we can all affirm and hopefully all together affirm the sanctity of life and not, God forbid, turn our back on it and not, God forbid, ignore it, but rather affirm the life so that we can really say, just like the angel said, Ka'et chayal sarabain, within this year we will have a child, we will be able to move forward, we will be able to continue destiny, as our and really hope that our fellow citizens, both in our community and outside our community, and everyone in the country, is safe and is on the path to health and on the path to success and on the path to chayim, to real life. So I want to wish everybody that we affirm the parts of this week's parsha that bring us to life, that bookend life, and that encourage life, and take everything seriously, and be careful, and continue to do the diligence that so many of us have been doing, and taking care of our families and our friends. And as we go into the winter, which is a more challenging time, and as we go into Thanksgiving and Hanukkah, and really be as careful as we can, and really affirm. And these stories of election, which are so powerful about Am Yisrael, should be kind of models for us. Shabbat Shalom to everyone.